Development of Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. That's what he got us. And now we're at the place where you're not going to get Shedeur reps. You're not going to prepare him for the games, knowing that he could be the number 2 quarterback, knowing that he's one hit away from going in. How does that make sense? Maybe this is Kevin Stefanski trying to shield Dillon Gabriel from all of that. But to that, I would say, if you're that worried about the fragility of his mental state, then he's probably not your franchise quarterback anyway.
Kevin Stefanski just dropped a bombshell that has the entire NFL world asking one question. Does the Browns head coach actually hate Shedeur Sanders? Here's what Stefanski said when asked about giving Shedeur first-team reps in practice.
With a young quarterback, with Dillon starting, you want to make sure he gets a lot of the reps. Different when you have a veteran like Joe, I would tell you, but still getting reps in a bunch of periods.
Wait, what? Let's break this down because this is absolutely wild. When Joe Flacco was the starter earlier this season, Dillon Gabriel was getting first-team reps as the backup. That's normal. That's standard operating procedure in the NFL. But now that Gabriel is the starter, Shedeur Sanders, the backup quarterback, is getting 0 first-team reps. That doesn't just raise eyebrows. That's a full-blown red flag parade. Canty went off on this decision, and honestly, he's speaking for everyone who's watching this train wreck unfold. Here's what Canty had to say.
I thought that Kevin Stefanski said earlier in the year that he is focused on the development of all of his young quarterbacks. Isn't that what he said? He was focused on the development of Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. That's what he got us. And now we're at the place where you're not going to get Shedeur reps. You're not going to prepare him for the games, knowing that he could be the number 2 quarterback, knowing that he's one hit away from going in. How does that make sense?
What's normal
from a readiness standpoint? How does that make sense?
Exactly. How does that make sense? Let's get technical for a second because this matters. Normally, and we're talking about standard NFL protocol here, a backup quarterback gets 15 to 20% of first-team reps in practice. That's not some revolutionary concept. That's just how it works. If you have a team period with 12 snaps, the backup is getting 2 to 3 of those snaps. It's about readiness. It's about preparation. It's about having your backup quarterback ready to step in if, God forbid, your starter goes down. But Shedeur Sanders, he's getting nothing. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Some people are saying Stefanski is trying to protect Dillon Gabriel's confidence, that maybe he doesn't want Gabriel looking over his shoulder, especially with all the media attention and fan clamor for Shedeur. And look, there's some logic there. Gabriel has been uneven through his first 3 starts. The pressure is mounting. The last thing you want is your young quarterback feeling like he's on the hot seat. But here's Canty's response to that theory, and it's absolutely devastating.
Maybe this is Kevin Stefanski trying to shield Dillon Gabriel from all of that. But to that, I would say, if you're that worried about the fragility of his mental state, then he's probably not your franchise quarterback anyway.
Boom! Drop the mic, walk away. If Dillon Gabriel can't handle the reality that backup quarterbacks exist and get practice reps, then how is he supposed to handle the pressure of leading an NFL franchise? How is he supposed to deal with adversity when things go wrong in games? If his confidence is that fragile, you've got bigger problems than Shedeur Sanders getting 2 snaps in practice. Let's talk about Shedeur for a moment, because this isn't just any 5th-round pick. This is a guy who was projected by many to be a first-round talent, the son of Dillon Sanders, a quarterback who dominated at Colorado, a guy who brings instant attention, instant pressure, and instant expectations wherever he goes. The Browns traded away Kenny Pickett to keep Shedeur on the active roster. Let that sink in. They gave away a quarterback they had invested a draft pick in just to make room for Sanders. That tells you they believed in him. That tells you they saw something special. So why the freeze out now? Shannon Sharpe and Ocho Cinco tackled this exact question on Nightcap, and their reaction was pure disbelief. Ocho said it best.
Doing the same exact thing you were doing with Joe Flacco and Dillon Gabriel. Now Dillon Gabriel is starting. You should be doing the same thing you were doing with Dillon Gabriel and Joe Flacco with goddamn Shedeur.
Ocho didn't hold back, and neither did Shannon. Shannon pointed out the obvious danger here.
You mean to tell me Shedeur can't get 1 rep, 2 reps with the starters?
I mean,
out of 10 reps, he can't get 1. You one play away.
One play.
So now when the guy goes in,
He ain't
and
never
he's
had
not
no
prepared because he ain't getting no reps. You talking about what he can. Like I said, Joe, I agree with you. I'm not saying, Ocho, you split it 5 and 5, but he can't get 1 to 2 reps in a 10-play series.
This is the reality that Stefanski seems to be ignoring. Football is a violent sport. Injuries happen. Dillon Gabriel could go down on any play. And when that happens, you're throwing Shedeur Sanders into the fire without any meaningful preparation with the first-team offense. That's not just unfair to Shador, that's setting him up to fail. Joe Flacco, the veteran quarterback who started 4 games for the Browns this season, made comments this week that suggest the organization doesn't believe Shedeur is ready. And there are whispers, leaks, whatever you want to call them, coming in from inside the building that paint the same picture. But here's what doesn't add up. If Shedeur wasn't ready, why did you keep him on the active roster? Why did you trade Kenny Pickett? Why did you draft him in the first place? The Browns made this decision when they traded down from the number 2 overall pick. They chose not to take a quarterback early. They chose to accumulate draft capital. And yes, their draft class has been impressive. But as Canty brutally pointed out, you're never going to win without a quarterback. Canty laid out a roadmap, and it's the only thing that makes sense at this point.
Here's what I'll say. We saw 4 games with Joe Flacco. We're going into the 4th game with Dillon Gabriel. They've got a bye week after that. If Dillon Gabriel doesn't show better than he has in the first 3 outings, then Shedeur Sanders' time needs to be then. They should take the bye week, extra week to prepare to get Shedeur Sanders ready to go into the game.
This season has always been about gathering information. The Browns need to know what they have in their quarterback room before they can make informed decisions about 2026. And yes, as insane as it sounds, Deshaun Watson is entering the window to return to practice. He's going to be in the mix in the second half of the season, which led to one of the most surreal moments in the entire discussion. The crew actually mapped out a scenario where Flacco gets 4 games, Gabriel gets 4 games, Shedeur Sanders gets 4 games, and the Deshaun Watson gets the final 5 games of the season. An extended preseason, a 17-game audition, a quarterback carousel that would make your head spin. And somehow, in that scenario, we ended up at a place where Deshaun Watson could legitimately be the Browns starting quarterback in 2026 if he plays well down the stretch. Let that one marinate for a second. But before we get to that nightmare scenario, there's one thing that absolutely has to happen. Shedeur Sanders needs to play.
You owe it to yourself through the investment in the draft pick in Shedeur Sanders, and quite frankly, the confidence that you showed in him by being willing to trade away Kenny Pickett, a guy that you gave away a draft pick for earlier this offseason in order to keep him on your active roster. You owe it to yourself to find out what Shedeur Sanders can and cannot do.
The Browns have to see what they have. Not in garbage time, not in meaningless snaps at the end of a blowout. In real game situations where the outcome matters. Because here's the truth. Dillon Gabriel has had 10 completions of 10 air yards or more with over 130 pass attempts. That's not good enough. He's facing a New England Patriots defense this weekend that's going to be sitting on everything. They're going to force him to beat him with his arm. And if he can't do it, if he has another lackluster performance, then it's time. It's Shedeur Sanders time. The fans want it, the media wants it, and based on everything we're hearing, even some veterans in that locker room want it. Myles Garrett has been quoted saying he sees Shedeur in the coach's office all the time, putting in work, and he likes what he sees. So what's the holdup, Kevin Stefanski? Is it really about Dillon Gabriel's development? Is it about protecting a young quarterback's confidence? Or is there something else going on here? Some personality clash? Some philosophical difference about what Shedeur Sanders represents? Because from the outside looking in, it sure seems like Shedeur is being treated differently than any other backup quarterback in the NFL. And that's not just weird, that's a problem. The Cleveland Browns are 2-5. Their season is slipping away. They don't have the luxury of wasting time or opportunities. Every game matters, every evaluation matters, and right now, they're refusing to evaluate one of the most intriguing quarterback prospects they've had in years. Kevin Stefanski says it's about giving Dillon Gabriel reps, about developing a young quarterback, about standard protocol. But the numbers don't lie, the comparisons don't lie, and the optics definitely don't lie. Something is off in Cleveland. And until we see Shedeur Sanders actually take meaningful snaps with the first team, the questions aren't going away. Does Kevin Stefanski hate Shedeur Sanders? Maybe that's too strong. But does he believe in him? Does he want him to succeed? Does he see him as part of the future? Based on everything we're hearing right now, the answer seems to be no. And that's a problem the Browns can't ignore much longer. Tell us your thoughts in comments, and do like, share, and subscribe for more deep-rooted analysis. Peace.